as a printer today. We have a mission committee meeting. Oh,
Hi,
there
Deb.
she is.
She's here, yeah.
I have a great printer. He used to be my student.
Oh, okay. So
Well,
are you familiar? Have you heard about the red cards?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my new project when I come home is to print out because Bill Beverly said he can use them, and Lou feels that he could use the daycare plus Pastor Edgar. Lou,
Edwin.
is it Pastor Edgar?
Edwin. Pastor Edwin.
Edwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to get some cards for him and where else, I just went, I was in a Mexican restaurant, the other day, and I asked them, because the thing is, it's not just immigrants, it's anyone who has an accent or looks a little different.
Yeah, they're just picking you up.
They're stopped. And these are basically saying, I don't have to let you in my house because of this amendment. I don't have to talk to you because of that amendment. So. Okay, I have parked. I will be there momentarily.
Okay.
Goodbye.
I wonder if they have them at New Hope Community Ministries,
I wonder.
because they have so many
Yeah, I mean,
immigrants. Yeah,
even
that's a good idea.
the cases that I'm hearing about are, people that they have all their paperwork. They have everything.
They're
they
not
need.
undocumented.
They're not undocumented, but they have some unspoken and unrevealed reason why they get picked up. And then the whole idea of due process and the right to be represented and all of it is gone out the window.
Right.
In the name of this,
What?
we are under attack.
And I think it's a
It's an
lot.
emergency.
We are
Well,
under
it's,
attack.
like we're at war or
Yeah,
something.
the American way of
Well,
life.
the three of us, the four of
What's
us.
the date today? So he was supposed to have declared that martial law on the
Right.
20th, but I don't think he did.
But he has said it's a national emergency, which
Right.
Yes.
supposedly they say gives him the
Well,
okay to just pick people up.
Well, and also to use military troops against American citizens, which he's wanted to do ever since his first term.
I'm gonna say, he started that in his first term, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, he
He
wants to
did.
be that. He wants to bring
But I think he
military
thinks
to bear on
it
us.
makes him look like the king of the world.
Mm.
It's mainly a power thing. I said it, you are gonna do it.
Right.
I don't care if it's not against my law, I am the law. It's like,
Fair warning, the live stream is on,
hello.
but I don't care
Okay, the
anymore.
next one's picked up
I
off
don't
the
care.
street are us.
I don't care.
I don't care either. Think that's my Sylvie York.
Oh,
She came in
in the workshop?
first in dressage.
Yeah, oh.
And third, and there were a lot of people in there. So she's number one, she's at the top of the,
Ooh, do you have any pictures?
I do. Yeah, I gotta find a nice picture.
That's exciting.
Yeah, well, she's done well in the past, but for a year she couldn't ride her horse because he had some problems. Now she's riding him again, so where is it?
The horse?
The horse, yeah. No, yeah, not
The
her.
thumbs? Okay.
There's her with her first place ribbon. She got a third place in
Equitation.
equitation. And there's the boyfriend in front.
Oh,
Of course, he's got to
nice.
get there too, so.
How old is she?
She's 17, or she's 17.
Nice. My granddaughter, who's now 24, did a lot of horseback riding when she was in high school.
Right. Yeah, it's nice that they have the equestrian team.
Yeah,
So
that's
she's been
great.
on it for, since she's a freshman.
That's great.
She's been riding since she's 8, so
What school is it?
Bedford High School, which is, the equestrian teams are mostly from private schools,
Yeah, of course.
I would think
but
so, yeah.
there are a few high schools that their town is upscale town, so they have, they're able to compete. Bow, I think, is another public school system up there that, but she's been riding for a long time. It's what, she does not really relate well to people.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
just
it's a great sport for that.
animals.
It's great. I mean, our daughter Paige, she started riding at age 5. Oh, yeah, but high school didn't have a team, but she just went riding. They had a stable, and Laura rode in competition.
Yeah.
And all kinds of things. In fact, she was riding with, what's the name of the woman that was on the Olympics team and a winner in the Olympics? She was at her barn, and so she rode her horse for exercise. And she's just started riding again.
Yeah.
She's riding at
She enjoys,
up here on the top, on the hill in Franklin Lakes. There's a
oh, right.
horse farm here.
Uh-huh.
She rides every week now. It's-
Sylvia's worked at the barn since she was like 13. And, they make you muck out the stalls
course
first.
they do, but that's
But then
okay.
afterwards, she was helping set up the
Yeah.
horses for lessons and hanging out at the barn all the time. So she relates better to, but her senior project was horse therapy.
Oh,
Her young brother, my youngest grandchild is 12, but he's on the spectrum.
yeah.
So she was working with him, and I guess that was her project. So, yeah, she'd rather deal with animals than the rest of us humans. I don't blame her sometimes.
There's a horse farm out in California where we used to live. It's a pretty big barn, and it is 100% for children on the spectrum and for other kinds of handicapped children. And they do all kinds of, horse and rider connections.
Yeah.
It's a big operation.
There's one right on 202, Pony Power in Mawa. It's right over the border from Oakland to Mawa.
Power of connection to animals is
Yep.
amazing. I have a bit of a dilemma approaching fairly quickly in about 20 minutes. Chris's brother-in-law died
Oh, is that why she's...
early in the week, and they called the funeral for today. Why does that affect me?
Are you doing that?
Because today's payroll day. And the payroll company is going to call, hopefully right at 10:30. They have to be in the office at the phone at 10:30 to give them the payroll numbers. So you guys are gonna run the Bible study by yourselves.
Oh,
Yep, all three of you. So,
Wow.
and
I don't know.
I mean, I feel at great risk until Colette arrives, and then she'll keep you all alive. if she makes it, but I try to avoid it, but I apologize that it just dawned on me. She said as she was going out the door yesterday morning, she's like, now don't forget you gotta be in the office at 10:30 to take the call. I was like, yeah, no problem.
there you go.
Yeah, no problem. That'll be no problem.
Do you have the door open so you can hear if the phone call's a
The
little
problem
early?
is I can't, oh no, if they call early, that's on them.
Oh,
They
okay.
call early, they gotta call back. But I was thinking I could just sit here, but I can't, I've tested it, I can't hear the
hear it.
phone. So, there's a lot of employees waiting,
Oh, sure.
making to make sure I get, and it doesn't take very long for me to just call it into them, so I theoretically could be back in time. Before 11?
Well,
Yeah, I
we'll
certainly
wait all
hope
for
so.
the juicy stuff
Yeah.
after you go
Yeah,
and then.
We'll talk about you.
Well, I'm really excited because in my reading and preparing for today, the footnotes in the study Bible have, I think, a genius comment that would have helped us in thinking about all of these texts that we read. So let's read the text, and then I want to share that with you from the footnote here, what they're saying.
I am eager to hear.
Yeah, good. I am
Because I
glad.
did read this, and I'm
Yes.
like,
Oh, I didn't
my
read
gosh.
Yep, and and
Can we
the
go on
reason,
to chapter
right, so
26?
the reason this comment is important is because this is the classic, we hate this,
Oh,
So,
it's gonna be one of
let's read
those.
it, and then I'll offer to you the scholar's word, and I think, oh, okay, Okay,
Is it,
so
it's 26, you said?
it's
25.
25.
25,
Yeah,
oh.
it's 25.
No, I said, let's move on
Well,
to
okay.
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so, reader, identify
I think
yourself.
it's Debbie's turn, isn't it?
I think so.
Shoot. Okay, I did read last night, but I'm gonna read again.
I did read last night too.
Yeah, we
That
both
doesn't
did.
count.
Okay.
Let's not fight about it.
How long is this
It's long.
It's long,
missive? Oh, boy, okay.
but
All right, and there's probably a lot of words. I'm gonna tell you right now, forgive me for all the names.
no, you're good.
Ashkelon,
Nebuchadnezzar and Joachim,
Okay, those are, I'm familiar with.
those are familiar with.
Yeah.
And then you got a list over here of the people that died, but that's okay.
All right, the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of King Jehoiakim, son of Josiah of Judah, that was the 1st year of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, which the prophet Jeremiah spoke to all the people of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. For 23 years, from the 13th year of King Josiah, son of Amon of Judah, to this day, the word of the Lord has come to me, and I have spoken persistently to you, but you have not listened. And though the Lord persistently sent you all his servants, the prophets, you have neither listened nor inclined your ears to hear. When they said, "Turn now, every one of you, from your evil way and wicked doings, and you will remain on the land that the Lord has given to you and your ancestors from of old and forever. Do not go after other gods to serve and worship them, and do not provoke me to anger with the work of your hands. Then I will do you no harm. Yet you do not listen to me, says the Lord, and so you have provoked me to anger with the work of your hands to your own harm. Therefore, thus says the Lord of hosts, because you have not obeyed my words, I am going to send for all the tribes of the north, says the Lord, even for King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. My servant and I will bring them against this land and its inhabitants, and against all these nations around. I will utterly destroy them and make them an object of horror and of hissing and an everlasting disgrace. And I will banish from them the sound of mirth, the sound of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the milestones and the light of the lamp. This whole land shall become a ruin and a waste. And these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. My phone is going wonky. 70 years. Then after 70 years are completed, I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, the land of the Chaldeans, for their iniquity, says the Lord, making the land an everlasting waste. And I will bring upon that land all the words that I have uttered against it. Everything written in this book that Jeremiah prophesied against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall make slaves of them also, and I will repay them according to their deeds and the work of their hands. For thus the Lord, the God of Israel, said to me, take from my hand this cup of wine of wrath, and make all the nations to whom I send you drink it. They shall drink and stagger and go out of their minds because of the sword that I am sending among them. So I took the cup from the Lord's hand and made all the nations to whom the Lord sent me drink it. Jerusalem and the towns of Judah, its kings and officials, to make them a desolation and a waste, an object of hissing and of cursing, as they are today. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, his servants, his officials, and all his people, all the mixed people, all the kings of the land of Uz, all the kings of the land of the Philistines, Ashkelon, Gaza or Gaza, however you would like to pronounce it, Ekron and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom, Moab, and the Ammonites, all the kings of Tyre, all the kings of Sidon, and the kings of the coastland across the sea. Dedan, Tema, Buz, and all those who have shaved temples, all the kings of Arabia, and all the kings of the mixed peoples that live in the desert, all the kings of Zimri, and the kings of Elam, and all the kings of Media, all the kings of the north, far and near, one after another, and all the kingdoms of the world that are on the face of the earth. And after them the king Sheshrak shall drink. Then you shall say to them, Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, drink, get drunk and vomit, fall and rise no more because of the sword that I am sending among you. And if they refuse to accept the cup from your hand to drink, then you shall say to them, Thus says the Lord of hosts, you must drink. See, I am beginning to bring disaster on the city that is called by my name. And how can you possibly avoid punishment? You shall not go unpunished, for I am summoning a sword against all the inhabitants of the earth, says the Lord of hosts. You, therefore, shall prophesy to them all these words and say to them, The Lord will roar from on high, and from his holy habitation utter his voice. He will roar mightily against his fold and shout like those who tread grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. The clamor will resound to the ends of the earth, for the Lord has an indictment against the nations. He is entering into judgment with all flesh, and the guilty he will put to the sword, says the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, See, disaster is spreading from nation to nation, and a great tempest is stirring from the farthest parts of the earth. Those slain by the Lord on that day shall extend from one end of the earth to the other. They shall not be lamented or gathered or buried. They shall become dung on the surface of the ground. Wail, you shepherds, and cry out. Roll in ashes, you lords of the flock. For the days of your slaughter have come, and your dispersions, and you shall fall like a choice vessel. Flight shall fail the shepherds, and there shall be no escape for the lords of the flock. Listen, the cry of the shepherds and the wail of the lords of the flock, for the Lord is despoiling their pasture, and the peaceful folds are devastated because of the fierce anger of the Lord. Like a lion he has left his den, for their land has become a waste because of the cruel anger and because of his fierce anger. Okay. I don't know why he had to name them all, because then he said everybody. So,
Right, he just wanted to make sure that you understood he meant everybody.
yeah, cut to the
Call them
chase.
by name.
And then, and the two.
Yeah. Call them by name, because that's the only way you'll know
Are
he
these,
means everybody.
are these places like in Greece and across the Mediterranean? Is that what
Tyre,
Yeah, some of them
yeah,
are. Yeah,
right.
they're
Sidon,
they're through
Tyre.
a diaspora there in the
Yeah.
whole.
Mediterranean.
What I would say, he names the whole known world.
Right,
Yeah.
because I didn't hear him say China,
Well,
or, you know,
the Western Hemisphere.
exactly. All those folks that we don't know about yet, they haven't been discovered. We'll leave them alone.
Maybe they'll be saved.
Right.
Oh,
Ay,
my
boy.
goodness.
Yeah.
What an
Okay.
angry God.
So let me share this tidbit,
Okay.
and maybe it won't mean to you half what it means to me. But the commentator says that, I'll see if I can just read it to you, or just have to tell you what he says. There is comfort when disaster comes to know that the Lord is in charge of it. There is a comfort. And there's even another layer of comfort to believe that the disaster and the destruction makes sense related to their behavior. It adds a layer, a blanket of meaningfulness to an otherwise chaotic world. So that as the prophet is applying the word of the Lord, this will happen, look what's happening, the green lands are being plundered and blah, 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 attaching that to some action of God, especially in response to their behavior, puts parentheses around it and leaves it, rescues it from meaninglessness and from endless just chaos. I was thinking about, I'm
Well,
riding in...
that's not that much solace,
Well,
really.
but think about it, though. It's
You have an explanation for
well,
what's
an
happening.
explanation, and strangely enough, disaster, especially at the level that is coming, for whatever reasons it's coming. I mean, he lists some of the reasons, and
And certainly the chapters before.
yeah, and I think that, I think as you were reading, I was thinking about, boy, I could preach a much simpler sermon related to some of the things that are in here, which is to say, human beings,
Wake up.
we wake up. We have often held out these things that would be good to do, that would be helpful in the world. We've held them out as an option that you have. But the sincerity of Jeremiah is, this isn't an option. This isn't an option. You are, and now I think it links with what the environmentalists are saying today.
Right.
We don't have an option. This disaster is coming. Oxygen supply in the world is being depleted. And so I think in their language, they start to imagine how to describe that. But the comfort still, I know it's missing from some of the environmentalists, but there is a comfort still among some scientists who say, we can still change this.
We still may have a chance. And maybe that part, because it's coming from God, that you have a chance to make tauba or repentance.
Yeah.
If maybe not collectively, but on an individual basis.
And it may not
It might not
stop
change.
the calamity that is
Yeah.
coming, but while you are suffering the calamity, you're not adding to the suffering a sense of meaninglessness. There's meaning
The
in
randomness.
the randomness.
Yeah.
There is meaning in this.
Yeah.
And it mentions 70 years. That's kind of like a couple of generations or 3, right, for these people?
Yeah, and
So
also the word
that's a long
70,
time.
but the 70 is the number of completion in the numerology of the Hebrews. So that the 70 years also sets a limit
Right.
to what's going to happen. And
This isn't gonna be forever.
right, it isn't going to be forever. And it isn't even saying, at this point, if you change your ways, this calamity won't come. It doesn't say that. It says, this is going to befall you.
Right.
And so while you're, so, I don't know, you can tell, this has been moving through my brain now for a night's sleep. And resetting my own sense of what is the approach of the prophet. That the world is not, so I'm riding in my car this morning, and I'm riding along, and I'm having a conversation with myself about God, and I realize that one of the heritages that I have received as a human being on this planet is the belief that life is personal. It's personal. And that God is personal. And for whatever it amounts to, that came back to me as I was reading this. And the appeal, I don't know why the environment comes into it, but I want to say, you know, the earth and the air and the trees, they are not impersonal objects. This is a personal thing. And this creation is personal. It responds to the personal connectedness. Now, the reason I'm thinking about that, this is so small, but you know, I've been waiting for 2 years for this tax refund to come and help bail us out, right?
Tax
And
refund.
it's a huge amount of money. Like, we got the new accounting on it. It's $186,000.
Are they really, is it really?
It is real.
Oh, okay.
It really exists.
Then why am I laughing?
And it's in a pipeline that we can't quite suss out. And
Oh.
but so my conversation with God is like, why are you doing this? Like, why
Come on,
are you
then.
doing this? And you know, whenever I'm with people who are in crisis, I always go, easy on the why now. Easy, no, don't. Just be careful. Don't dig too deep for the why. And then I'm riding along in my car, and I'm going, why? There's got to be. Right?
Everybody always says
There's got
why.
to be a personal reason.
Yeah.
And why do I argue that?
Right.
Because life is personal.
How can we live otherwise?
How could we live? You can't pretend otherwise. I mean, people do, and that's what leads them into the behaviors that are so offensive to God
The work of your hands.
and to other people,
And to the creation.
and to creation.
Yeah.
How do we get to the place where this is the prophet's word? We get there by losing sight that it is personal, and that the response will be personal.
Lou, it's 10:30.
All right.
It is.
That's there. I got the ball rolling down the hill. Now,
There you go.
talk amongst yourselves.
Well,
Gosh, I can't believe I have to leave now.
we'll summarize.
We'll
Yeah.
figure it out while you're
I
gone.
just feel that it's personal, but it's also corporate. And, you know, I think in terms of, I used to do a thing called the Green Circle program that the Girl Scouts had developed. And it starts out with you, and then as your world continues to grow. But it talks about the importance of the individual, but also the importance of how that individual affects others. And I think that it's a yin and yang, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You can't just, because personal means, okay, it's all about me to me. That's, I guess, where I have trouble, because I don't want it to be about me.
Okay, it could be both at the same time, though.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I feel it has to be.
Yeah.
And personal, what can I do corporately, as well as, you know, what matters to me when you say personal?
Yeah.
What does personal mean to you?
What does personal mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
Each person experiences strife in their own way and relates to it differently, I guess.
well, also, the blessings of this life, you know, no one has exactly the same preferences and way of looking at things and interacting and so forth as I do. That, you know, we can all be similar, but we're not gonna be the same. And so my personal reaction or preferences and our way of doing things, whatever, is gonna be different. And I think, you know, we also need that sense of community. We need to be part of something that's bigger than me. I think being part of something that's more than me allows for a lot more opportunities for loving and caring and doing the things that are, you know, what make me a better human. So yeah, we need both.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to realize that, you know, there's no other way that I can take this scripture or any experience in other than through my set of eyes and ears and senses and history.
The prophet can tell you, well, all you people, you've been doing bad things. That's on a larger basis. When it becomes personal, it's when you examine your relationship with God. What am I doing? And how am I reacting? And how does it affect my relationship with God? Am I just saying, okay, well, we got invaded, Nebuchadnezzar came, what can I do? Or,
This too shall pass.
whatever. Knowing even that you can't change it,
Right.
there is something to praying and having a relationship with God, that a personal relationship that will blunt the worst of the worst, I think, anyway. I'm probably wrong, but
I know, I think the fact that it's personal means you can't be wrong. You know, your way of doing something and my way might be different, and they're, for each of us, they're right.
yeah,
But they might not be righteous.
Well,
that's a whole nother.
Sorry. I'm gonna get morality in there. It's interesting when I'm reading this today because I just finished Lou's book
oh, yeah.
about the Bible. And in fact, I will bring it back and put it on the table with the books for people to share. But it's steps to reading the Bible. And the first step is, after you read it, to think of how it affects you personally. And I have always been uncomfortable because I never felt that I knew the Bible. That it was, I would read it occasionally, but I didn't read it like Debbie does or Lou does, that they know all these stories, because my, uh, upbringing was Bible history in a Catholic school that would just pick and choose. But so when I would read, the first thing I do would be go to a commentary to see the experts.
What are you supposed to think, huh?
Right, exactly.
That's not
Right.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but sometimes the commentaries are very
it is
useful,
helpful, very
you know.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, but one of the steps is then go, eventually you go to the commentaries. But, my
First
feeling was I was uncomfortable thinking that I would know anything, you know, uh,
Yeah,
you know, but it was interesting when that was the first thing. So I've been trying not to immediately go to commentaries when we do this.
well, I think maybe there's a connection between last session, a couple weeks ago, and this one. And last time, I remember underlining that I will give them a heart to know that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God, for they shall return to me with their whole heart.
Yeah.
That was ruminating for 2 weeks now. And the thought that I had about this was that it's an explanation, maybe, in rather personal terms, for sort of a natural law, God's law with humans, that we need to do these things and be the way that he has taught us to be in order to have a full heart, a heart of him, and that without that, if we go astray, if we don't do those things, our heart will not be filled. We will not be happy. We will not be satisfied. We will be astray. And so bad things happen to people who are in misery.
True.
You
And bad things happen to people who are not,
It's true.
but it's a way to cope with
But go
that.
back to what
Right.
Lou was saying, that,
Yeah.
like, who's with you in this?
Exactly, exactly. You have God, the relationship with God, knowing
We
that
went through the worst.
God's plan for you may not be what you envision,
Right.
but it's still God's plan for you. And at least you know you have God on your side. And this particular passage is hard to understand because the passage you quoted seems to say otherwise. Not everybody's going to be wiped out. That some people will have
But this is
God
like the
in
bigger
their
picture,
heart.
isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I think that what we were just reading is a very specific kind of graphic way
exactly.
of impressing people.
Is it the prophet trying to scare the bejesus out of everybody, or is it, or
Yeah.
does he have a hotline to God saying,
Maybe both,
could be?
you know?
I think it's Jeremiah's personal discernment of what may happen. And when was it written? Was it written after, Babylon? Well, probably, but,
Yeah.
because as Lou says, a prophet is not one who sees the future and tells you like, you go to the
Fortune
the
teller.
fortune teller.
Yeah.
But it's like common sense stuff. If you keep doing bad stuff is gonna happen. And wake up,
And
folks.
if you do good stuff, it doesn't mean that
Not
bad stuff
necess-
won't happen.
Exactly.
But it doesn't affect you in the same way.
Exactly.
Right, right.
Yeah, I
Because
think
God's
so.
there with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Anyway,
But that was a pretty bleak, the whole world,
chapter. Yeah, it's the whole world.
the whole world for those
Yeah.
folks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not even to mention the penguins
Aw.
that are tariffed now with the rest of the world. Bad things happen even to penguins.
So awful.
Isn't that all? I don't know. I mean, this is like people that are not thinking. And when you let on a corporate, not a personal basis, but on a corporate basis, when the majority of people say, it's okay, we'll give all our lives over to someone, many of whom admit is evil. What do you think is going to happen? Evil things are going to happen. I mean, we drop out of the Paris Accords to stop the earth from,
Yeah.
being
I mean,
ravaged.
But that goes way back to Clinton.
Oh, sure.
And I'm still,
Angry about it.
I am, you can tell.
Exactly. Well, we all should be, because I think even if you have your politics say, the opposite of what the environmentalists say, you have to at some point pay attention to some of the science. And even if you don't, the proof is right there. You can just see
But
things.
it's too late.
It is late.
It is to you, but to a lot of people, and look at now, it's 800 children with measles.
Yeah.
Hey,
To happen.
Probably of all of the egregious things that are going on, I would say, to me, the ignoring of experts, dissing
Right.
experts,
Right.
whether they're scientists or financial or whatever, experts who
Right,
know, I mean, they've made it their life's work to know this stuff, to figure
right,
this stuff out.
exactly.
And then to say, oh, no, I know better.
Right,
Of course we're gonna have measles,
right.
it's just,
How foolish.
And Ebola and et cetera, and each, it just
and,
grew.
I've been able in Uganda to see progress over 20 years.
Right, right,
I really have. There, especially in terms of health, there's been progress because
yeah,
HIV/AIDS was really affecting the community when I first went there. And it's still there, but it is
Not
so much
like it
more under
was.
control, and it's not ruling their lives, you know?
That the PEPFAR program,
That was
that
part of it, and,
Right.
USAID was
was the.
critical.
Yeah, and now they've taken that away.
They have, and it's
So
just
you're gonna
horrible.
see things start to deteriorate again.
Absolutely.
And it's preventable. That's what makes you so
Well,
angry.
it's preventable and it's treatable, but
Right.
the treatment isn't always easy. And people have to go to clinics to get the treatment.
Exactly, it's not
And
accessible all.
they need to be looked after because, and they're out in villages, and so these people, you know, the healthcare workers have to have the ability to get to them.
Exactly.
It's so many different pieces of this that are now missing. Yeah, oh yeah, they're gonna provide the drugs still. Well, you think these people are,
Are going to make it sure that their schedule provides for them to get the transportation. No, yeah, it's not gonna happen.
they just don't have the ability to do that.
It's like in this country during COVID. We waited with bated breath for the vaccine, and when it came,
People didn't take it.
there were people that were saying, oh, no, they're
Oh,
telling
my
us.
dead body.
Exactly, well, okay, you will have a dead body.
But I don't want you giving it to me.
And then, you know,
Or the people who can't get them.
and then telling you, okay, well, we have alternate remedies, ones that
Bleach.
obviously could kill you or, you know, harm you. I mean, even with the measles, they've been telling people vitamin E, so take vast quantities of cod liver oil, which you can overdose on,
can.
and it
Oh
will
my God.
ruin your
Yeah.
liver. Jeez.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
it's not simple stuff. And that's, get back to, what about
Well,
the
none of-
scientists?
none of it
Scientists
is.
say? There are scientists who might be able to give you some methods that would help to recover more quickly. But it's
But-
not gonna be a one-shot thing. It's not gonna be cod liver oil.
Well, it just,
And
is he that
it's not
stupid? Is
to
he
the exclusion of what is medically based information.
right?
In addition, because, you know, I read all the time about diabetes. Well, you know, this supplement could help, or that supplement, or eating this or not eating that could help. But that doesn't mean and throw away the insulin.
No, please don't.
I mean,
That's
it's
like
just,
magical thinking.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and then do the people who tell you those things, do they actually believe those things?
I think sometimes they do, but it does, it's not because of their own, work,
Because didn't
And, you know-
RFK have his own kids vaccinated?
I think so.
Yeah. So is he just plain old evil, or is he really that
Oh, he's come to
dense?
see the light, you know. But he's not a scientist, not really.
So who's responsible for these things that we know we shouldn't vote for these people? I think most people know they shouldn't vote that way, but what's more important to them? Saving tax money, you know, getting a tax break, or,
I think, I think it boils down to pocketbook and racism and sexism.
but I also think, like what Sean was talking about yesterday, it's, you know, not those who vote differently than us, but the sad part is so many people feel that it doesn't make a difference,
Right.
and they don't vote.
and they don't vote, right?
Yeah.
And
Or they
that's-
vote for a third party even, sometimes that's,
That's how I think that's where our concentration has to be, because I think, you know, it's a lot easier, not easy, but to at least convince people that it could make a difference, you know, so that to get people out to vote, rather than trying to talk people into who are just so have such tunnel vision.
yeah.
But
No,
it,
I agree, you can't, I mean, some of these people with the huge Trump flags, you know, that are bigger than their house.
Maybe you're not gonna convince them,
We're not,
Right.
you're wasting your breath.
yeah.
right.
But the ones, the ones like you said, who didn't vote or said, yeah, I voted, but, not, I just thought it was the better of the two bad choices, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
and then that wasn't true at all, really, at all. But anyway, that's their
But it depends on
opinion.
what news you're listening to, doesn't it?
Exactly, and a lot of that, I think, is that evil? Yeah, disinformation on purpose, is that evil? And for what end? That's what everybody keeps asking. Well, they're doing evil things. Pretty much more and more people are coming to see that what they're doing is evil. It's not going to be good for any of us, except for the few billionaires at the top.
And
People are
that's grief. That's
starting
gonna
to
be
see
grief.
that. Exactly, because look at Tesla. But anyway, so are they acting because they think that's best? I can't believe that they think it's best for the middle class. It can't be. The proof is right in front of your eyes. So how evil are these people? And what do we do as people who have a lot less power? The only power we have is the power to vote. Okay, next time I can see.
I think
Yeah.
you all, me less, have been doing things that, we've got to do.
Yeah.
We've got to let our voices be heard, even not just with voting, but
Letters to your
protesting
congressman.
and letters and
Going
calls.
out on the
Boycott,
street.
I think the boycotts have helped.
Oh, yeah.
Done a job too. And also, I think being a role model or, because I think also when I listen to a lot of commentary on webinars and whatever, that I, it's very discouraging
Yeah.
that something how can this be? But I look at Black Americans who've lived through this, how many years? And, it never was fair for them. And it never was right. And
Really.
Still, and
it
it's
kept on
moving that way
going.
for women too, so get ready, ladies.
Right,
But,
but I think, that they said, that I have not seen, I've been at 6 protests, I have not seen a policeman at one of these protests. The protest I went to the other day was 2,000 people
Wow.
at a county courthouse
more
in Naples, Florida,
That is so great.
home of the billionaires. I have not seen one policeman, but if blacks came, what would happen?
Oh, it would
well,
be different,
in
wouldn't it?
New Jersey, I've gone to 3, and they keep increasing in volume. And 2 of them had police presence, but more just to direct traffic because they were by shopping centers and on major highways. The police didn't interfere with anybody who was saying anything, doing anything, and there were black people. So
Oh, here in
it
New Jersey.
depends on where you are, I guess, but all across the nation.
But she's in Florida.
Well, she's in a very wealthy part of
Yeah, but
Florida
still.
where I
Yeah,
can see
but,
you're not going to
even
see
the
too many
Hispanic
minorities.
community is not there either because they're afraid,
Right,
which I can
that
understand.
could be, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
I was encouraged, I watch Rachel Maddow, and she always has a big segment now on the show, all across the nation, how, all these big cities and little teeny towns. She was showing people in Alaska, and it was like, there maybe 10 or 15 people, but they're out there.
Yes, they are.
And, now it's really, it's a thing. So and people who tell you, oh, I'm not going to go out in the street with a sign, what good is that going to do? It is starting to do something.
It is.
They are starting to back down. The fellow that they picked up in Vermont, he saw it coming, actually. The one, he's a Palestinian American student. He was all set to have his citizenship,
Right,
test. And when he got they did the bait and switch thing. They said, come down for your citizenship. And he said, I'm not so sure that this is not a trap. a honey trap, he
I
called it.
hadn't heard this one, wow.
So he said he already knew that it could be, but he said, if I miss and it's actually for the citizenship, I don't get my citizenship. So he said, I'm going to go, but he alerted other people. And they were right on it immediately. When they picked him up, they went right to the courts, and they couldn't take him out of the state. He is in, a ICE facility, but he's in the state of Vermont. And
He
he
didn't move
had.
him out of state at least.
Exactly, and he's had people visit. He had, I forget the legislator's name, came and sat down and had a big interview. It's a lot different if you were sent to someplace far away from your community.
Well,
People
Louisiana,
were
right?
already, yeah. They want to isolate you from, who you know.
And then on further, on to the country. It's
So
just-
it's some things that you do work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because without all of that protesting happening, I don't, there's just, it'd be too easy for it to be glossed over.
Right, exactly. Yeah, people would be not woke. Wake up, America.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and I think the death of Francis this week actually kind of jolted in me, like the contrast between leadership that is just and then leadership that is not.
Did you send something about that, or did I get that from someone else?
It could be.
Oh, I mean, it was so good.
Jim Wallace said
Jim Wallace
something
wrote
that,
on there, yeah, but.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I read the Jim Wallace. You sent the Jim Wallace.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But there was one other one, I was like, oh my gosh, look at that, the contrast was just.
Right, and that, it makes people think, and what is going on in this world, can we fight back again? Yes, because there are leaders like that still, and they have a huge following. And there are, I heard that there's almost 2 billion Catholics in the world.
I bet there are.
Right,
And that's
right.
as many as there are Muslims. I always thought that there were more Christians in the world than Muslims or Jews, but
But
I didn't
Catholics alone.
but Catholics alone are making up so many. So
Yeah.
there's hope.
I am,
Maybe not after Jeremiah there, but
I'm so concerned about the selection of a new pope. Who's
Right,
gonna-
right.
They can't find another one like Francis, can they?
Yeah, that's what I said. After John the 23rd, we went through how many years of
Right.
very conservative,
And the
you know,
pendulum might go back that way.
right?
I have a feeling that would be difficult. I think
I think so.
I hope so.
I mean, they
didn't the
said
Pope
so
pick
many
his
of
own
them.
Bishops? Doesn't the Pope pick the bishops that are going
Well,
to
it's
be in the
Cardinals.
conclave?
Cardinals are the ones, and
I mean, the Cardinals.
he's picked 100 of the 138
There,
cardinals.
so-
I think there are right now, and there are also more cardinals now than ever. I guess there's no limit to the cardinals, but he has made cardinals in many countries and
Right.
many areas where there are very few Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it used to be the Italians were the most cardinals, and then the Europeans, and then the Americans, and now I think it's a lot spread out, but that doesn't necessarily mean
No,
that their philosophies are the same as his.
right. If
No.
you're a cardinal in a country that there are few Catholics in, I think you get extra credit for being a hearty and dedicated servant at that point, don't you? So hopefully that will mean something. Yeah.
Hopefully, the spirit will be with the Cardinals, that they will choose someone who will be meaningful.
Yeah.
Because the Pope does have a big reach around the world. Even if
Absolutely.
you're not a Catholic, the relationship that the Pope has with world leaders can't be ignored.
No.
And like Barbara pointed out last night, and I had heard all along, because the Palestinian American community is aware that the Pope was in touch with the church in Gaza all the way through this war, and every day was in communication with them.
Oh,
And, that, it's like he doesn't have to do that. He can just say, stop the war. But he made it personal.
he made
Yeah.
it personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the personal again. And how I think also that personal makes you realize that a person can do something. I think that, having a role model, I certainly have found that, that person could do this, maybe I can do something small. Every little thing that we can do
You
to
do
make,
more than small.
Yeah, I was
Barbara.
just gonna say, come on.
But
But it's true, and it's contagious. Good stuff, it can be just as contagious as
Right.
horrible stuff. So,
that's a happy thought.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's just after reading Jeremiah, I don't know if after reading that, I would be, even if I have a personal relationship with God, I'd be like, why? Why? But we never know why a lot of things happen, and the only way to deal with it without falling to pieces completely is to have that relationship with God.
Yeah. I,
I was just looking at reminded me of the saying I have for my Angelou. My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness.
Absolutely. Isn't that inspiring?
It sure is.
And then they take her books out of the libraries. So there you go. You can't be too inspired or they go after your writing. Oh, I don't know.
scary stuff. Really, really scary.
I did hear on one of the shows last night that, what's her name? Biondi? What's the Attorney General's name? Pam?
Bondi.
Bondi. Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
She read out the edict from the orange guy on high that they will crack down now on anti-Christian acts. So
What's anti-Christian?
Exactly. And what did she mention? I forget. I turned it off when it got halfway through. I did read it online too. The Guardian had it. And it was like all the nonsense you hear, and none of, like, Joe Biden was the least Christian president. He was so against Christians because he had declared on Easter Sunday national trans, stuff like that. Stuff that you can predict that they would be,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, I'm for anything that would, I don't think you should be anti-Christian. I don't think you should be anti-anybody.
Right.
But not the way they mean it. It's going to be,
Right.
it's going to
Exactly.
be another way to crack down on anybody who has a little different idea. Anybody who might be for abortions or for the LGBTQ folks, all of that stuff. And how they can call Joe Biden and not it's like, he was always talking about his faith. And I was wondering whether he was going to be able to go to the funeral,
All right.
because the idiot's going. So I thought maybe there should be an actual Catholic who actually loves his faith represent us as well, and not just stupid.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, he's looking real frail lately. I don't know.
Really? I haven't seen him at all.
I watched just a little bit of his speech that he gave, and
it was about a week ago, and I can't even remember what it was. So many things have happened every
Yeah.
day. Can't remember what it was.
But he didn't say.
Probably about tariffs.
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was. But,
But funny, he lashed out a bit. It was,
yeah, oh yeah, it was nice to hear from him, yeah.
but, you know,
But-
he didn't look strong.
No, he didn't, he looks like he needs some medical attention. And unfortunately, he's
You know
older
what?
and,
He's like my dog. My dog is 17, almost blind, almost deaf, but he keeps doing his laps when I bring him in a long hallway, and he runs into things, and he falls down, and then he gets up and he runs some more. I thought, that's Joe Biden, you know, you're just,
up until, a couple of years ago, he was riding his bike all the time. So, whatever happened, but he's,
old.
I think he should be there. If he can make it at all, please go, and don't let him, the other
Be the
guy,
only
be the
representative.
only representative, yeah. And J.D. Vance actually saw Francis on his last day.
yeah.
Imagine having to see that on your last day. Is there a God? Maybe not.
Well,
No, I'm kidding.
I kind of feel like there's a chance that Vance could turn around.
Be a little different? Well, he says he's a Catholic now, so is he going to abide by what Catholicism and all of Christianity, all the three monotheistic religions that I know about say, welcome the stranger? How about, not being...
Take care of the poor?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, we can only hope.
yeah. Well, at least there's an inroad in his case.
Yeah.
I mean,
The other case, we
no,
don't...
I mean, it's hopeless, absolutely hopeless.
Have you ever felt that way about a person? Yes, I think that's the first one that I have ever felt that way about completely. There's no hope
No.
And
I
that's a
could always
shame.
see some good in
in everyone.
the other ones.
I'm
I mean,
still trying.
I would make fun of them and whatever.
But they were still human.
Yes.
This is beyond that.
Yes.
It's like
No, I think it's the devil incarnate.
the Antichrist. It's the Antichrist.
Can we turn it off?
No.
Can we turn off the?
No, it's okay. They can come and arrest us. Just tell somebody ahead of time. I think they're coming. Just like keep you in your home state. Oh, gee. Oh,
So here we are. I think it's comforting to realize that God is with us. And what was the other part of that?
Personal.
And it's personal, yeah,
pray hard. Pray very hard now.
yeah.
And
And act. I mean, I really do think it's so important that we not be,
sit complacently and let it happen to us.
and
Right.
not do the things that fill your heart with God. You know?
Right.
I think you can get so discouraged that, and then they've won totally. If that's the case,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
That's what Robert Hubble keeps saying. I can understand if you want to give up. He says, but keep it quiet. And don't try to spread that word.
That's a good point. That is a very good point, because you're going to feel discouraged from time to time, maybe a lot of the time. But that also is contagious. Joy is contagious, and defeat as well. So,
And what is it that is contagious about what Trump is doing? Hate.
well, I guess so. Yeah, hate is contagious too. I don't know why anybody would want to choose that, but
I don't either.
yeah.
Uh-oh, we have a low battery.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. If you disappear or we disappear, it says low battery on the,
Well, hopefully he'll do it because we have a mission committee meeting. Hopefully, whatever it is, he can
Okay.
fix.
Well, there's a cord here. Maybe I could do it. Let me see.
Okay.
we're almost at the end of our
You are
time.
brave.
I don't know which cords are, that was not plugged into anything.
goes in
Oh,
here.
because if it's plugged in there, it may be,
Did that do it?
no. Yeah,
You're still there.
no, well,
Where's the
where's the
battery?
battery thing? It's usually a little icon up in the top.
There's no
Yeah, it's
charger
on.
thing.
It's on.
Okay,
It's
cool.
plugged in now.
Oh, good work, good
Yay.
work. Hey, check off another victory for Elaine.
Elaine had the courage to try. See, there
Right,
you go.
exactly.
That's my,
I'm always afraid to touch.
that's
I,
my teaching, in front of teenagers coming back, like, I gotta fix this.
Better you than I. I'm afraid to
I wanna show them this,
My kids are always criticizing me for that. They're like, well, try it. Just try doing this, that, and the other. No, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it. It'll blow up. Oh, with technical stuff?
Really?
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, you seem to do very well with your phone.
Just the few things that I know how to do. I go to other places where everybody's savvy, or they're mostly younger than you.
Of course.
And then they'll say, well, put it on the phone in your contact list. And I'm like,
And would you like to do that for me?
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I've been having
And they look at you like, what's the matter with you?
What gets me is that just as soon as I learn how to do something like that,
They change,
then they update the OS,
Right.
and then it's different,
right.
and then
I don't even know what OS is, so you're
Operating
system.
That
OS,
I know.
Operating system.
operating system.
Now you-
Duh.
Yeah, there's too
Oh,
many
God.
acronyms,
There are way too many acronyms.
right, for everything. I always Google, I do that several times a day with it. Okay, what's this acronym
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Well, what's funny is the Ugandans are lovers of acronyms. It's
Really?
unbelievable how many acronyms they have. And of course, they think you know what they are.
They'll
It's
just
technology.
rattle them
It's in
off.
their government, it's all,
Oh.
like, oh yeah, he's the DOS. Well, what's the DOS? DOS, Director of Studies.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Could be director of shit or
It goes
something.
on and on like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
oh my gosh. We have plenty of them too, though, and it's like, I can't remember all that stuff. My brain is old.
DOGE,
Yeah,
a new one.
well, it took me a long time to find out what LOL was when
Oh.
people
Laugh out
in their
loud.
texts. Well, text also, although, basically the people that I text with pretty much, write words.
And they do, everyone does now.
And how
Right.
about punctuation?
Even the young people do now, because they can just talk into their
Oh,
phone,
right.
And it,
or they can just click on
right,
the
right,
whole
you don't
word.
have to actually type
No,
it
They're
in.
very good at that.
My
It's a big
my
transition over the
grandkids,
last 10 years or so,
my grandchildren leave out all the punctuation,
Oh, yeah, they-
all the capitals.
There's any punctuation.
I actually leave spaces, like when I'm giving my, salutation and they're like, Nana, why are you doing all of that? Because it's proper and it's the way I've been taught to write a letter to
Yes,
somebody.
and it makes it easier to read.
I think it
And,
does.
and it
Has-
avoids
It
misunderstandings
helps, right?
sometimes.
Unless you just put a smiley emoji at the end or some other silly thing.
Those I can't do because I can't see them enough to know if it's a
which-
smile or a
Yeah,
frown.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't ever put emojis.
Oh,
I have
that's
a
interesting.
I have a few that I
You
use.
need a bigger screen, right?
Right, well, I did something to my computer and now I had trouble even opening this because the font was smaller. So I have to figure out, but then every time I try to fix it, I darken everything.
Oh, do you have a touch screen on your computer?
A what?
Touch screen.
I guess so, I don't know. No, I don't. No,
Like on your phone, you have a touch screen.
yeah, no, the phone, no, it's a Google Chrome $300 computer. No, it's a very basic computer. But anyway, I survive, right? Keep trying.
You do very well.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
it's just, you get to a certain point in life and you figure, why do I need to know all this?
Right,
Because
right.
they will change it
They do, that's
a
what,
few weeks from now, so I give up. As long as people kind of understand what I'm trying to say, fine,
good
that's it,
enough, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
Doing the job I do, I had to learn a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
that's what necessity makes you
It is a
learn, yeah.
necessity.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, and maybe something else too. Besides invention, there must be another thing.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway,
Well,
Motivation
guys,
for learning, I guess.
there you go. A
so
little
you have
encouragement.
the battery okay now?
Yeah, looks like
Good,
there's no
good.
message on there and you're bright again, not
I just plugged it
dim.
in, Barbara, not a big deal.
This is
Well,
an amazing
you
feat.
found the right plug.
I would have plugged it in someplace wrong and the whole thing would have blown up. See, that's why
Do you
I
have
don't.
an iPad or a tablet?
No.
No
I
face,
have
no
a Kindle.
face.
Oh, yeah, I
But,
did.
yeah, I have a couple of different ones. One I can get my emails on, but the other one's just a reader.
I could put my emails on my Kindle, but I don't. I'm like,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know
use it.
what? I'm gonna just keep this for reading and playing games.
Right, there you go.
And I'm not gonna have, text messages coming in and emails coming in.
All those things that take you away from, I
Because
got,
that's more like opening a book now.
it
you know,
is, it
which
is.
I need to do sometimes.
Exactly.
Without all
Yes.
this stuff popping up and distracting me.
And ads. I got the one Kindle that I have that I can, communicate and get my email and all, because when I was taking care of my mom, I didn't want to have to bring a Kindle and the computer and,
Yeah.
So that
No,
helped.
it's handy.
But I hardly use that one anymore
It
because,
happens. I have a nice iPad and I hardly ever use it.
oh,
Really?
yeah, that's right, we have an iPad too. I'm
And
saying
I-
we because my
I'm like,
husband got
what
it.
was I thinking?
Right.
Putting my money into that,
Yeah,
Well, I bought one that was not all that expensive, more than a Kindle, because the Kindles kept breaking on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's funny,
yeah,
because I've had mine for years.
I like
really.
it. I love
I
it.
went through 3 Kindles probably. They lasted, well, I expect things to last at least 10 years.
100 years.
We bought, there was
They should.
there's a program called the World Reader Program Organization, and in 2010, we got 50 Kindles from,
Oh,
through
wow.
them, loaded with 50 books on each one, actually
Wow.
100 books, 50 international and 50 African. And-
Wow.
And those things, at least 40 some of them are still working just fine.
Wow,
And,
that's
It
wonderful.
was wonderful. And so
Oh,
on this last visit, I said, let's get those charged up. And we have a lot of new staff, teachers who weren't there for the original
Right.
orientation and workshops and such. I said, let's just get them out and I'll do a little workshop on using them so that, more teachers will be using them and it'll be a much, it's a nice thing to add to the curriculum.
Yeah.
So we did
Is
that.
there any
I was
public
surprised.
library system for books?
What's that?
Is there any public library system for books?
No,
No?
not out where we are, maybe in Kampala, but
Oh.
not where we are.
No, I'm just thinking, I use Libby most of the time now when I'm reading, and it's connected to the public library.
Yeah,
So I can download books,
yeah,
for freebies.
that's nice, but no, we can't do that.
Mm.
Probably in 5 or 10 years that'll happen there, but not now. There's Janet just came in. How
Janet
about
just
that?
came,
Great.
and I think
Yay,
we've
Janet.
exhausted our Jeremiah, right? So, yeah, so I don't know how,
It's taking a little longer than he thought, I think.
yeah, because he said it was
Well,
gonna be.
I think
in and out.
what it is they have to call him. And
So
it could
maybe
be
they were
anytime
slow.
after 10:30.
Hello, dear.
Oh,
I'm so happy to see you.
oh no,
Yeah,
what happened?
how's your hand?
What happened? Oh, I know what happened. I forgot. It's been a while. You fell on the driveway.
It happened when I was still in Uganda.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. It was the ice, it was the last bit of ice on my driveway. Not even on my driveway, I'm walking the dog up the hill, down the hill. I just came my day off. Thought, oh, spring is here, I can take you for walks. And I thought there was a little bit of ice on my own path. I came down, I was step over this little wall, jump over the wall literally.
Uh-oh.
The dog, well, forgot about that ice. Oh,
1 second of forgetting the.
yeah.
So now what progress, okay, you did have,
Pin and plate. So now,
right.
I think this is a normal thing, my hand doesn't close, so I have a physical therapy. But at least I'm driving.
You can drive,
It's been so
yeah.
looking after my husband,
I can't even
bringing
imagine.
dog, opening bottles, even putting toothpaste on, because I'm left-handed.
Oh,
So now this hand is wearing out.
oh,
Please breathe in.
a nightmare.
I've only just got my hair sort of done because my hair was being in braids and then I went to the hairdresser, it was in braids and it took too long to undo the braids.
Really? Oh,
I survived. How are you?
Well, I'm,
good,
and Barbara's here.
Oh, that's Barbara. Oh, hi.
yeah.
Hi there,
I
Barbara.
can't see you. Hello. Ooh, I think of you every time I watch Call the Midwife. And as I cry through every episode. That is my all-time favorite program.
Oh, it's wonderful. I haven't seen it for the last couple of episodes, but I'll catch up.
It's really good.
My dear friend in Uganda, the midwife who had a clinic, died on Easter Day.
Oh,
Oh.
In Shamsia. Well, older, not as old as I am. But
Oh.
She's a midwife, so that's
no, no.